Computer. All right, y'all. Welcome to the Mother Tree Network podcast. I'm so thrilled to be here today with Dr. Stephanie Burns. Dr. Burns and I've known each other for a few years now.
Yes.
We probably met at a solstice, a summer or winter solstice gathering a few years ago, and we have stayed in touch. And so lovely to have you here. Welcome, Dr. Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so great to be here. I was trying to remember. I'm like, which one of those solstices was it in New Orleans?
No,
Oh,
I've never done a
okay.
solstice in New Orleans.
Okay. So somewhere.
So probably Mississippi then.
Oh, Mississippi, Mississippi. Yes. Oh, that was special. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm used to being with you in hot, humid places.
And where that ancestral bond is so strong.
So strong. That's right. I'm remembering that retreat. So well
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about you. First of all, tell us in your view today, Dr. Stephanie, what is good? What is good about
Ooh.
life, about your body, what's happening today, energy, any
Mm.
way you want to take that question.
Wow. Okay. First of all, I have to say I'm a Gemini, so that means when you ask, I'm like, okay, which one is going to answer right now? The multidimensional one, the one that's present in this moment. It's Good Friday, and regardless of people's religious backgrounds, um, what's good is that it's good,
Yeah.
right? And I appreciated the walk because sometimes I forget how much I need to move my body, and that was just really great. And I'm excited about where we're going to go next. We are collectively creating, and whenever we start to feel and sense that things are getting like chaotic, out of control, then that tells me on the other end of that something amazing is being shaped and formed. And so that's what makes me excited about today.
Mm, yes.
Yeah.
And Joyce is saying it's Friday, but Sunday is coming. Yes. We
Yes,
are in a
yes.
sacred container right now.
We are
Stephanie,
in a
we're in
sacred
this,
container.
yes, Good Friday heading into Easter. And as you said, whatever your spiritual or religious path is, it's a sacred time. It's a moment, right?
It's a sacred time because it reminds us of how beautiful, it reminds us of transformation, transmutation, connecting with our higher consciousness and with, magic. So, however you view Easter or the resurrection, whatever language you use around it, it's alchemy, it's magic, it's transformation, it's resurrection, it's all the things. So going from something um, good to having to the representation of being on the cross or whatever we're being accused of falsely, whatever we're being persecuted for, whatever stuff we're going through, and knowing after that one can go into their higher level of consciousness, one can go into a different path, one can alchemize and take all these things that's coming against them and rise above it. So,
Ooh.
yes, I love this time of the year.
Now, okay, so I want to follow up on every single thing you just said,
Okay,
but I
okay.
realize I've lost one of your titles. One of your titles. Aren't you a reverend? I've heard you referred to as Dr. Reverend.
Yeah, I don't use that title a lot, but I am.
Okay.
I
Okay.
am. I come from a preaching family, and yeah, so I am licensed, ordained as a reverend,
Mm.
minister. Yeah. So,
Wow. Well, I just heard it in you as you started
right.
talking. I was like, wait a minute. I think I've had this reverend up in here. Okay. All right. All right.
She does show up, and that's the thing. It's like it's the thing I often don't say, but it comes out on its own. It's like you don't have to say. So the whole reason of getting licensed and ordained was really just to legalize what I was already doing.
Mm.
Just because some people still need to see a paper, so
Mm.
you just like, let's go get the paper.
Mm. Okay. So thank you. Thank you for letting us know one of your it's not just a title. It's like a it's part of your lineage because you said you come from a preaching family.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So, and as we, we didn't plan, I wasn't thinking, oh, it's Good Friday. Let me have Reverend Dr. Stephanie Burns on. It was like when we were available, and
Right?
wow, we have been brought together on Good Friday. So now I'm like, okay, what's the opportunity here? What are we to talk about?
Yeah.
And one of the things that you said that really rang with me was when you talked about whatever we're going through, we have an opportunity to come through into higher consciousness,
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
and I've been thinking about this because I had a very visceral and emotional reaction to uh, some of what I caught regarding the LSU women's basketball team
Mhm.
and the White House and Iowa. I mostly do not consume a lot of mass media, but
Right.
this came across and it really hit me. And Dr. Stephanie, what I want to explore with you is how to transmute or alchemize that narrative, that pain of being um, treated like, I know my friend Joyce will know this phrase, a toe-headed stepchild. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes
Yeah.
from, but it sounds very Southern to me. Um, but but for Black people in this country it's that constant reminder or narrative that is available to us that, oh, you're not as good as, or I don't love you as
Right.
much as.
Right.
And it hit me so strong. And so I went up the mountain. You talked
Yeah.
about consciousness. So I went up this
Right.
mountain that I'm on, and I was just praying for healing, praying for
Mhm.
healing. And so I'm going to stop there because I would like to hear uh your conversation about transmuting, alchemizing something like that, so that you come out in a different consciousness, and then maybe I'll share what happened for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations to LSU. New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and it's not coincidental that I shared a flight with one of the LSU players yesterday morning. Um, but so what can we do to alchemize this pain? First is the acknowledgement of it, right? And we spend so much time talking about the negatives that we miss all the goodness. But what I saw, here's how transformation happens, and here's how some alchemy happens, is the amount of people who stood up and said, let's not do this again. Because there is strength in numbers. And so if we don't come together and gather together, what happens is then we continue to repeat these patterns. And so for those who are saying, oh, well, we want to invite LSU, which the normally would be the case, but this time we're going to make an exception and also invite the runner up, which does seem like you're dissing or not acknowledging you. If you had said that beforehand, if you said before, anybody who have ever gotten into that last Final Four, Final Two championship game and said, whoever wins this time, we're so proud of all the women teams, we're going to bring in the top two, then that would have been okay. But you wait until you don't say that. So that tells me it wasn't probably not the intention. And so, but people stood up because when there's strength in numbers and you start to get not only the collective coming together and saying no, let's not doing this, then you start getting celebrities who are saying no, let's not do this, then you get politicians who are saying no, let's not do this, and now the message is heard. it resonates. It resonates because otherwise, if no one says anything and it's just the players who like, can we please, then they can ignore that voice. It's easy to ignore that voice. And then if they choose not to go, then people are saying, well, they're being disrespectful and not going, or they're not being appreciative. But there's strength in numbers. And that in itself can help change and shift things. And so what happened is they were like, no, we really just want LSU to come. And it also took the person on the opposing team, again, to have to say they should go. And I don't mind the trash talking because I did my own trash talking to shut down some things. And I- that's the part we still need to help alchemize, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Higher consciousness says to me, let's lean into those who are leaning into us. Let's find our tribe and stay there.
Mm.
When people tell you they don't, if you very don't appreciate you, then let me go where I am appreciated.
Yes.
Because this part that I have to just put up with is what needs alchemizing. Because I don't have to put up with it.
Right.
It's an honor to go to the White House, yeah, but you know what's a bigger honor? Is those who believed or maybe even didn't even watch the game but could celebrate us
Mm.
and see us as the champions that we are, and when you see us you greet us with love and kindness. That's the real celebration. That's the real alchemy.
Yes.
And so I'm moving us through because it takes us to start wherever we are. And
Yes.
the idea of Good Friday is like there was Good Friday, then there was Saturday, and
Yes.
then there was Sunday. So we have to understand like there's the starting point.
Mm.
And the starting point is acknowledging where the pain is.
Yes.
And Yeshua or Jesus wouldn't have been on the cross if the crowd would not have, and we could go deeper, deeper, deeper. And I'll refrain from putting on the ministry hat, but we could go deeper into the systems. We could go deeper into the gatekeepers. We could go deeper into the dreamers. But the crowd, just
Mm.
like social media,
Mm.
was incited to make a quick decision.
Mm.
What Yeshua was able to do when a quick decision was made by an emotional charged crowd to say, yes, you're the one who should be prosecuted. Yeshua shifted the energy, but
Mm.
he leaned into the people who supported him first. He leaned into the women who supported him, the women who stood beside him, the
Mm.
women he leaned into them,
Mm.
gave the medicine to them.
How so? How did he lean into them? Tell us, what did he say or do?
So when you now don't like, okay, because I know there's some scholars and some ministers out there, so don't y'all. I don't want to misquote anything.
Okay.
Um, but one of the things, I talked about this yesterday. The women, first of all, was able to actually be there. The disciples, with the exception of one, was not there. And the reason the disciples were not there is because they were afraid that they too will get the association like, oh, you were with Jesus, so
Right.
therefore you get arrested and it could be you up here.
That's right. Yes.
And so they basically went into hiding.
Okay.
But the women
Mm.
have always been there. And I'm going to switch up women. I'm going to say the divine feminine
Okay.
has always been there nurturing Jesus, nurturing this gift.
Yes.
The divine women,
Mm.
divine feminine, who provided food, financial support, to show up not worried about being prosecuted
Mm.
because they knew who they were
Yes.
and they knew and believed in what they were witnessing and seeing.
Okay.
That the person that they are um, that they have supported, that they know, who have told them, I'm going to show you how to alchemize, was not afraid of any soldiers or anyone coming to arrest them.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very clear. Then they get there, and so they get to listen. Women will save the world, Joyce. They will. They get to listen to his last words. They get to hear for themselves. They preaching today the seven last words.
I know.
They get to hear and listen to that in person.
Yes.
That in itself is medicine, because it ain't passed down. He say, she say stuff. It's medicine that's given to you.
Right.
They get to witness this alchemy in action.
Mm,
Again, it ain't he say, she say. They don't get caught up in, well, that ain't really what's happening, because they were witness to. We saw him on the cross.
mm,
They were witness to how they treated him.
mm.
They were witness to the pain that he endured.
Right. But he leaned
And
into them.
but he leaned into them and said, he told John, take care of your mother. So basically, he's like, now I am making you, connecting the two of you. Mother, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. I do believe that's it.
Mm,
Um, where he was telling John to behold his mother, which was Jesus' mother, and for her to behold his son. So now I'm leaving to you
mm,
this earthly gift, but
mm,
I'm going to be with you in the higher consciousness.
mm,
So you have something present
mm,
and here on earth that you can hold on to
mm-hmm,
while I transform.
mm, to this
And
other
so
consciousness.
to this other consciousness. And so when you
Mm,
follow that story through, they're bear witness to, they get to hear the last seven words. They get to see, they get to hear the gift, the blessings that he gave to them. They were able to witness that. And then fast forward to when he rose, right? When he rose, the first person there was the divine feminine, was the woman. Everybody wants to give the disciples credit for being the first apostles. No, the woman was the first apostle, because the first apostle was the person who saw that Jesus had risen and went and shared that message. And so now they're witnessing the other side of it, where he says, why do you seek the living amongst the dead?
mm.
So
Okay.
it gets a lot
I
deeper, and
know.
I
I
I
know.
know I know for those who know we could go, but and I'm trying to explain it in terms that we can all understand, but lean into the what's leaning into you, and then you become a witness to what the magic is. So how do you understand alchemy? Is they got to see it for themselves.
Mm,
They got to witness it.
mm.
They got to be a part of it. They just wasn't on the journey. Sometimes people are on the journey, but then they miss out when the alchemy is actually happening,
Yes. It's your
because they're
life.
in because they're in hiding,
Yes.
because they're scared.
Yes. I
I
mean,
ain't
the
mean
journey is your life.
the journey is your life.
Yes. And you
And
could go
sometimes
in
we check
hiding.
out on and sometimes we check out on our own life.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
2020 was a great reset of alchemy for us to go into our higher consciousness, and many of us just checked out.
Yes.
And the
But
reason why we're feeling a lot of this chaotic energy now is because there's the some powers who just want to go back to how things used to
used to
be,
be.
when many of us have shifted and alchemized and went into higher consciousness, and so we can't go back.
No. And what I love about what you're saying is, if I'm getting this correctly, is, when these people were rejecting, for example, LSU, but it could be any of us in a situation where,
Is
you're being rejected or not valued, not cherished.
mm-hmm.
Um, go to where you are cherished,
Yes.
you know? And if you
Yes.
cherish somebody, let them know, stand up, let it be heard, um, and and so much more to what you said, but I want to come in on what happened at the mountain when I went up
Yes, yes, please.
because it was like uh so my prayer as I went up was that for my healing. Um and what I was wanting to heal was this trigger that I have where I can so easily feel neglected, abandoned, not loved, you know, less than. And
Right,
so that's in me, and I feel like that's in us as African Americans. That's a group dynamic, a group, narrative and a wound. So like, how do we heal that, right? So that you know, like I could want to do the right thing by LSU without having had that woundedness in my heart when I read about it.
exactly,
I mean, it
exactly,
took me down, Stephanie, and I don't even watch
exactly,
basketball, you
exactly.
know, but I was available to be wounded. So that's why I took
Yes,
up to the mountain. I was like,
yes,
help me help other people. I was like, okay, let me get real. Help me, please help me. Period. I'm the one who needs some help here. And what was so interesting was when I laid down on the ground and asked, Earth Mama to talk to me. She what she said was venerate, venerate, venerate. She was like, turn
mm,
towards uh turn towards what you love. Don't look back at what didn't love you,
right,
and the betrayal and the story, because there's
right,
so many stories in American history of this betrayal, right? So, and I'm a historian, and whatever, a
right,
lot of people I'm sure have done their reading and whatnot, so we know there's a story here. There is this
right.
narrative based in facts. But she said, venerate, venerate, venerate. That's the new direction, not stay in the anger and the betrayal and, you know, like speak from there.
That part, because that's, when you think about Jesus on the cross, him leaning into the women, is he could have looked out in the crowd and at the soldiers and just been angry and would have been justified to been angry. He could have looked at everybody who showed up that wanted this to happen and could be like, how foolish are y'all? Like, do you really want to kill somebody who's actually out here trying to heal you? And yet he looked towards what loved him, who loved him. He looked towards the ones who've been rocking with him, knowing that things about to shift and change. And purpose, right? What was he here to do? Or and that could be argued if he really was here to do that. But to your point, you going up that mountain, connecting with the earth. Here's alchemy, by the way. So I just want to acknowledge it when it shows up because we really think like, oh, let's get our magic wand and then we got to pour this into pour that and we got to do all this thing. Sometimes all you have to do is connect to something that's already higher consciousness and change can happen. So nature is a great way to do that. And for you to connect and go up the mountain. So mountains have been talking lately. Let me just say, for the last couple of years, I've just been getting messages about the mountains, the mountains, the mountains. There's a different view we get from the mountains than we do from the valley. There's a different view we
Preach.
get from the mountains that we would get from below the sea. So, and it doesn't mean that the valley doesn't preach because it does. It doesn't mean below the sea doesn't preach because it does. But now the mountains have something to say. And when we think about higher consciousness, the crown chakra, for those who are familiar with chakras, the crown chakra, our seventh chakra, many say the Himalayas, the mountains, are represent that on the earth. So, as we talk about, and the root chakra is represented by Mount Shasta in California. So, mountain and mountain represent the root, and one represents the crown. So if we take that, then these messages we're going to get from the mountains is either going to be about grounding or they're going to be about alchemizing our higher level consciousness. There is no need to look back at the past. So you get this message for you to look forward. Because the mountain is not sitting here going, well, I was once underneath the earth, and then all of a sudden they pushed me up until I became this higher being. But I really should go back. No, the mountain is the mountain. And the mountain is only going to look forward or up. So you
That
getting that message is, and I'm just going to say, I also had my own volcano mountain experience like last week.
okay. Wait, okay, I want to hear about that, but I just feel like you need to say it again. The mountain got pushed up, and the mountain is not saying, "Look at what happened. I got pushed up. They pushed me up." Can
Right,
you-
because I'd be shady with the mountain ain't trying to go back underneath and be like, well, can I go? I want to go back to the core of the earth. Like I ain't, the mountain is being the mountain. And I think that's the issue we have sometimes is we forget that we are the mountains.
Hmm.
We oftentimes, and here's evolution. We could be in the core, we could be in the womb of the earth, the belly of the earth, and then give birth to the mountain, but we still want to go back to the core
Yes, where it's familiar.
where it's familiar. And the past is familiar.
Yes, because we lived it.
Because people want to stay in the past. And so let's alchemize this, continue to walk through this LSU game is now we have an opportunity to mark what is happening right here, right now, in present, and saying, well, what happened was they tried it, but we weren't having it, which is different than what the past often says. The past often says they tried it and we succumbed or we forgave, we did the thing, we whatever, we had to put up, we had our little private conversations, we got together, we got on the phone with each other like, girl, they did it again. But this time, we were like, we're not going to put up. And now let's shift it to only follow the path where you are invited and accepted, where they see you fully, where they're talking more about your game than they're talking about how you put up the ring saying you won.
Yes. Wow. Wow. So I hear you talking about accepting a new story,
Yes,
being in the new story, and the new
being in, because
story
we're
is
writing a new story. And so we need to acknowledge that we are writing this new story and not get so stuck on the narrative of our ancestors keep coming and saying, like, y'all have to, we're here to support you now. Thank you for healing the generation lines and continue to do that by all means. I'm not telling people to stop doing that. But the history books will be writing about us now.
mm,
And I think we lose our place in that.
okay. So you're saying that the ancestors want to support us now and where we are now.
Yes.
Yes, they don't want us to keep going back.
No, it's our lives to live now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
now the connection with the ancestors, you definitely want to continue to heal your generational lineage, that kind of thing, but they're
Mm-hmm.
here to collectively support us now. We are now being written in the history books. How do you know, Stephanie, we're going to be written in the history books? Because I'm sorry, 2020 pandemic is written in the history books. And are we not living it? It is not, isn't it not, is our experiences that is going to be discussed and talked about.
Mm.
You have this podcast. Who knows? Somebody 10 years, 20 years, 50 years from now, find this archive
Mm.
and go, oh, there was this podcast, this Mother Tree podcast that. So we are creating history right now. We are creating future right now. And we just need to like see ourselves as the mountains, those of us who are called to be the mountains, to see ourselves as the mountains. And how do you want to move forward? I always say this: Jesus didn't ask anybody for permission. When he came born into the world, and the ministry that he had and the sacred services that he was here to do and the people that he decided to help, he did not ask anyone for permission. He did not go to the temples and say, please. He did go to the temples and realized they just weren't ready to do the work he was going to do. And he did not ask anybody for permission. He just did. He got community together and he did what he needed to do. Now, he spent a lot of time defending, answering the questions. What makes you think, being honest? Why did you do this? Why did you do it that way? Because y'all weren't healing. Why is the blind man still blind that wants to see?
Okay. Okay,
All
hold
right,
on, Dr. Stephanie. We're gonna take a
I
little
know.
moment for a
I
break.
apologize because
No, no
okay.
apology needed. We're just gonna take a moment for a break for to hear a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Okay. So, Dr. Stephanie, you've given us so much about ancestors, what our ancestors want for us, facing forward, uh, being in this moment, right, in the future. And we talked about earth and mountains, but one of the things I know about you is how you encourage people to be conscious about water and using water to alchemize
Yes.
or to create. So can you just tell us a little bit about maybe a story about how you've used water?
Yeah. I'll tell the mountain volcano story.
Okay.
I was recently in St. Lucia, and we went on this journey to go to see the waterfalls. And I had no I didn't know, like, I didn't read a thing, I just showed up for a thing. And it required us to walk up. So we're, inside of a collapsed volcano, and it required us to walk up the mountainside. So there's very steep uh, path. I can get a little I started getting dizzy when we got up the heights. It started raining. It was muddy. Um, I haven't been working out, wasn't in the best shape. So it was just a lot happening. And I remember the spirit of Mommy Water telling me that your emotion is fear, but what you do is bravery. So even though fear shows up for you and on an emotional level, what you actually do is you do a thing. And I realized that like I was doing something afraid. Like even though I was nervous and scared about this hike that turned into a steep adventure, I was doing it. So I started focusing more on my doing and not what was coming up in my thoughts. And then when we made it to the waterfall, and those who know I love water, but I don't really get in water because I can't swim. So, and again, more fears. And so is because it's in a volcano, it's a sulfur thing. By the time I got down to the waterfalls, you couldn't tell me anything. I was a changed person. So the alchemy was happening as I was conquering my fears. The alchemy was happening as I was climbing for every rock, for everything I stood, for every slip, for every fall, for every tear that came. The alchemy was happening as I continued to move forward. And then the water The water was sulfur, so it smelled like rotten eggs because it's coming out the volcano and it's here to detox. No one would expect me to get in the water, but I knew I needed to, and now I've conquered my fears, so therefore I'm ready. So I got underneath the sulfur volcano waterfall and cleared my crown chakra. And as I cleared my crown chakra, the person, there was someone witnessing, they said it's as if the water came out and hugged around me. And that's exactly how I felt.
Mm.
And the reminder is that that old you that says that I'm afraid to do a thing no longer exists. The new you does it anyway. So the alchemy of that water was used to clear and remind me of what I had just accomplished. It was here to clear the past, which is why a lot of churches do baptism. It was here to clear the past and then sealed in that you are now a new person. So don't
Mm.
claim that's why the past has to stay the past, because we want to go back and pick up that past person. And she's new, he's new, they're new, you're new. So walk. Now I'm walking as someone who can overcome obstacles. Now I am walking as someone who has climbed a volcano mountain. Now I am walking as someone who actually gets underneath waterfalls. Now I am a different person. Notice what I said there. That is not what I said in the past. In the past, I said, I don't get in the water because I cannot swim. I don't like heights because I'm afraid. I don't do these things because I'm afraid. But now I'm saying, I am a person who got cleansed by the waterfalls. I am a person who walked and climbed the mountains. I am a person who conquered my fears. And there is absolutely nothing I cannot do. I am someone who alchemized, and I need everyone to understand what alchemy is transforming something from one thing into the next thing, into something. So silver, or transforming lead into gold, is how often we look at it. But transforming the scared, nervous person to someone who can do anything she puts her mind to. That's alchemy. And
Mm.
nature is a big part of that.
And you were supported by the water.
I was supported by the water, I was supported by the earth, I was
Yep.
supported by the air,
Yeah.
supported by all the elements, and I'm in the fire of the volcano, so I'm supported by that too.
Right. All those elements were
All those
there.
elements are present. So I know your question was about water specifically, um,
Yes. No, you've
but
answered
water
it.
is water is used to cleanse, and water is used for me in many different ways, but it's used to cleanse and it's used to initiate,
Mm. Mm.
like a baptism.
Yeah.
You go down as the old you,
Mm.
you come up as the new you,
Mm.
which means what transformed you
Mm.
was the water.
Yes. Yes. And then it's on you to change the story. Yes. You just muted yourself.
I apologize. Now you take the pen and you write the next the story now.
Right.
Don't write it from the old narrative.
Right.
Write it from where. That's why I said it's important, and ancestors are asking us, it's important for us to see ourselves inside of history right now. These LSU girls, they, the team, won the championship right now.
Yes.
They made their dreams possible right now. They are the champions right now.
Mm.
That is what's getting ready to go into the history books. So we cannot or we should not be looking at, oh, the controversy or this or who got invited, da 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 da, or they talking about, we need to be grateful and all these things and we need to be quiet. No, we won right now. You
Mm,
are the champions right now.
mm,
And as the champions, you brought to the forefront all of the hate that still exists,
mhm, mhm,
and you said no more.
mm,
And the people who leaned into you gathered around you
mm.
and said no more with you.
And we love you.
And
And
we
and you're the champions. I mean,
and you're the
just like
champions.
shift the narrative. Whole
Shift the narrative.
yes,
You are the
yes.
champions. And boy, I saw her hit that three. You are the champions.
Mhm, mhm,
Overcame.
mhm,
Champions.
mm,
And I knew they were going to do great things because somewhere I used to watch basketball like religiously, and then I just stopped watching basketball because I just put my energy elsewhere. But before we went into March Madness,
mm.
LSU got on the radar, and I immediately said, I haven't seen them play not one time, but I immediately said, there's a team y'all gonna need to watch. So the
Mm,
Alchemy.
mm. Okay, so we're gonna have to wrap up this show, Dr. Stephanie.
Yes.
Although, of course, now I want to ask you what else are you betting on, so you can tell us, so we can do that. But if you want to hear more from Dr. Stephanie Burns and alchemy and ancestors and working with the elements, transformation, where can people follow you, Dr. Stephanie?
Yeah, so social media, I am on Instagram as Stephanie R. Burns. You just remember the R's as in Renee. Also LinkedIn, Stephanie R. Burns, TikTok, it's all the same. And then I have a Patreon site called Spirit Grove. So if you look up Spirit Grove, if you go to Patreon and just search Spirit Grove, LSE, we're a group of Black prismatic women who are out here that believe in healing ourselves, the earth,
Mm,
and our communities. And then, and if you want to drop me an email, stephRburns at Gmail, STEPHR as in Renee, BURNS at gmail.com. The website is coming. I just don't want to promise people, but it will also be my name.
got you, got you. Well, Reverend Dr. Stephanie Burns, thank you so much for being here. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for just sharing that wisdom, but it's more than wisdom. It's like let them hear who will hear. It's like it's a vibration, it's medicine.
Yes.
So thank you for allowing us to uh amplify what you're doing and
Thank
being.
you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, for those who hear will hear, and the diamond is there if you dig around and get it.
Yes. All right.